Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about nationalism and its influence on Indian companies. Let's begin. So, all this started when a company called the Hindenburg basically made allegations against the Adani Group that they had committed corporate fraud and that they were running the biggest con in corporate history. This caused the Adani company's share prices to fall, and it looked like they were in big trouble. But then many Indian investors and bought shares of Adani and prevented them from falling further and stabilized their situation. And I want to explain why this has happened, why people have supported a very rich company, at that time, the third richest man in the world, when in most countries, including India, people don't like businessmen. They're either jealous of them or view them as corrupt. And I want to explain why that has changed in India. We must first start looking at the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. This is a campaign by the government to encourage people to be vocal for local. That means to support local and Indian industries over foreign ones. It is translates as Self-Reliant India campaign. It was envisaged by the Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi. This campaign is popularized by him because during the pandemic, India and many other countries found themselves overly dependent on China, which had locked down and which prevented supplies from China reaching them. And so India decided to embark on this campaign to become self reliant. This has involved uh, removing restrictions on business, encouraging Indian companies uh, in Indian industry. And yeah, I want to show how this has raised the sentiment for Indian companies across the nation. The Adani Group, according to its chairman Gautam Adani, supported the Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign. They invested $70 billion in facilitating India's green transition. They are a world leading they have a world leading capacity in solar power, and uh, they Adani says that this investment will boost the company's efforts to make green hydrogen the fuel of the future. He says we are leading the race to turn India into a country which might become a net exporter of green energy. The group has already made remarkable progress in other industries in the last year, not only in green sector but also in defense sector. Atmanirbhar Bharat is working in a major boost to self-reliance in aircraft technology. The indigenously designed and manufactured naval version of the light combat aircraft made its maiden landing and takeoff from the indigenously built aircraft carrier INS Vikrant. This is a historical milestone achieved towards Atmanirbhar Bharat by Indian Navy, according to the Navy. So shows how the Navy and the rest of the armed forces are supporting this campaign. And let's see how this has affected Indian industry. Uh, there have been robust domestic conditions in India. Private final consumption expenditure as a share of GDP in the first half of financial year 23 was the highest among all half years, H1 or H2, since FY15. There has been a strong export performance of FY22, and this continued somewhat in the first half of FY23. In this half of the year, exports of goods and services as a share of GDP have been the highest since FY16. What this means is that the Vocal for Local campaign is working, that uh, industries are Indian industries are having more demand from other countries for their goods and services, which is why India's exports have risen and Indian industry in general has been growing. Manufacturing has remained an expansion zone for 18 months since July 2021. This is contrary to the rest of the world, which is having problems of inflation, slowdown in economic growth, and other economic problems. And this has also influenced the technology sector with Indian apps like Coup competing with uh, Twitter and other social media companies. India based technology companies are rising. India has taken firm steps towards fighting big tech companies and their monopoly over global operations and hence international influence over policy making. This has caused a backlash in foreign media. One such article was published by Reuters titled India Push for Digital Sovereignty Risks More Online Surveillance. And Coup has no conflict with the Indian authorities and is at ease with the compliances related to social media regulations in India. On the other hand, in the last few years, its larger rival, Twitter, found itself in an increasingly heated debate with Indian authorities over its content filtering practices. So, this shows how Indian tech companies are more cooperative towards the Indian laws and regulations than foreign giants like Twitter. So, what is the net result of all this? So, we can see how Indian companies are uh, investing in India, they're producing goods, and there's growth in consumption within India, which is favoring Indian companies over foreign companies in various sectors from tech to defense. So this shows that patriotic fervor is growing in India, and hence, when one of India's biggest companies, Adani, suffer a controversy, rather than joining in foreign companies' accusations against it, Indians came out in support of Adani. Now, of course, there were some people who criticized and supported the accusations, but they were the minority. Majority of people supported Adani. This was evident in social media and in the markets where people bought shares of Adani company. Now, full disclosure, I have not bought any shares in Adani. I have not bought any products or services from the company. I am not sponsored by them, and I'm not giving out financial advice. I don't know who you should invest in. I don't know anything about that. I'm just reporting on what has happened and giving my analysis on it. So, yeah, I think that this shows that when companies support their nation, that people support them, and that I think foreign countries should learn from India and they should become nationalistic in their own right. They should support their country's companies, their industrialists, and the leftist attitude of hating against the wealthy people, companies, and corporations is harmful to a country, and rather they should be supported, of course, ethically and legally. Governments shouldn't favor some companies over others. There should be an open and free marketplace, and yeah, capitalism should be allowed to do its thing. It's I think one of the best economic systems for any country and has definitely helped India since the 1990s. So, yeah, I hope that nationalism spreads all around the world so that we can see all countries having growing economies just like India is seeing. Please give your feedback in the comments below. If you want to see other videos about Indian nationalism, click here. If you want to see my previous video, click here. If you want to see the sources I use for this video, click the links in the description below. Thank you for watching. Vande Mataram.